We are continuing with import set, and
I found it very interesting, this import set, for
yep,
some reason.
yep,
Because mostly, not mostly, but as an ETL developer, somebody will handle
yep,
the import set, yeah,
yep, yep,
from external source.
yep. So we discussed importing data from Excel file, importing data from XML file, right?
Yes.
So is CSV. CSV is also the same. So now we are going to use data sources, but we are going to create a new data source of a different type, right?
Okay.
Last day when we are creating data source for XML, so we used the file type data source, and within the format we went ahead and chose XML, right? If you have to choose CSV, you can use CSV. If you have to use CSV with with tabs in it, right? Then you can use that. You can use XLS X or XLS directly for importing data from Excel using this data source, right? Yeah, yesterday, what we did is we did just using load data. We imported data into the database using the file that we had, right? But the other option that you have here, the source of import, you have data source as well, right? So
Yes.
you can create some data source here first, and then using this load data, you can actually load the data source that you want to pull data from, and then you can load the data, right? So you will be working on these data sources. So right now, if we see the data sources of our three types that we have here: file, JDBC, and LDAP, right? File we are done. File we saw yesterday: CSV, CSV tab, XLS, XML, right? Even if we do CSV, it's just similar to Excel file that we have done, because this is just a comma separated value that you were using, right?
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it will, and you have to identify the delimiter here. It could be comma, or it could be semicolon, or it could be any delimiter, right? Stuff like that. Now let's move to
Yeah.
JDBC. When we move to JDBC, we see so many input fields coming in. See, when I was having in the file type selected, I only had these fields. But when I select JDBC, some more fields appear, like use mid server, format, database name, database port. Then you have server, query, query timeout, connection timeout, table, use last date, runtime. So this looks familiar to you, right? And username and password,
Yes. Definitely.
because you have been doing all these things while you were doing SQL development,
Yeah. Yeah. Using
right?
SSIS and everything.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Now when you choose JDBC, let's look into the format that it supports. It supports MySQL, it supports Oracle, it supports SQL Server, right? So it supports these three major databases right now, and you can connect with these databases directly, right? And then you can use mid server as well. Mid server is an intermediary program that you will install on your servers to interface with different systems, right? I'll tell you how mid server is configured and what that mid server is, right? So, and then you have the LDAP type. LDAP, you understand, the lightweight directory active protocol, and that is to get data from your Microsoft Active Directory or LDAP. So you have information of your users within that LDAP that you can configure, and you can pull out information directly from LDAP and integrate with ServiceNow and get that data into your system, right? So that's a Microsoft LDAP that we are talking about here. Before moving ahead, I'd like to talk about mid server, and there is a bit of configuration that we will have to do. Mid server is a Java program, actually, and the mid stands for management, instrumentation, and discovery, right? So it's management, instrumentation, and discovery program, which is a Java server that facilitates communication between movement of data between an instance and external applications, data sources, and services, right? So if you want your ServiceNow instance to integrate with external applications or data sources or services, you can utilize MID server to do that, right? Now, all new MID servers must be validated before use. This is a precondition that this should be validated before use, etc. Now, to install a MID server, so typically what happens is, Michael, when you are in an enterprise environment, you have several thousand PCs within your enterprise, and you want to build your CMDB basis all the information that you can pull out from the enterprise. Meaning, if you want to get information from all the assets, right? So what you do is, and your assets are within firewall, right? Like your ATOS organization, your organization must have a firewall. All your
Yep.
PCs, hardwares, etc., will be under that firewall. If you are connecting you to any of the assets, from home, then you must use VPN, etc., to get past to that firewall, and then you are able to access organizations' resources, etc. Right? So
Right, right.
right? So if you want to interface ServiceNow to any of your databases within your firewall, right? How can you do that? You cannot do that easily because ServiceNow cannot bypass your firewall, right?
Right.
So you must have a mechanism using which you can actually bypass the firewall and get your ServiceNow system connected with your internal IT assets or any database or any other sorts of information. Or if there is some sort of program which is known as discovery, which has to discover information about all those assets within your IT enterprise, right? So if it has to gather information about those IT assets, the IT the discovery program should be stored somewhere within your IT enterprise, within your firewall, right? So this MID server
Yes.
is that program which will be utilized to gather information from within your firewall, within your IT enterprise, and push that information to ServiceNow. Because ServiceNow is an external system for your enterprise, right? It's a external server system. It is hosted on ServiceNow data center, ServiceNow servers, not your servers, right? So it's a external system that you have, and obviously it cannot bypass the firewall and it cannot access resources within your firewall, right? So so the catalyst here will be the MID server that will be installed on a server within your IT enterprise, and then it will interface your ServiceNow instance with the MID server, with the assets. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So it's like this is your enterprise, and you have several computers, servers, right? These are
Yeah.
these are your IT resources, and then this is your ServiceNow instance, and you want to interface with this enterprise, right? This network. But you cannot do that because there is a firewall in front of you. So there is a firewall that is not allowing you to connect to, right? This is a firewall. So what you will do
Yep.
is you will put a system here within your IT enterprise. This will be your MID server.
Okay.
One more PC here, you put it here, and there you can install the MID server program, right? On this PC, you install MID server and open up this PC with the ServiceNow instance, right? And this PC can in turn connect with all of these PCs that you have here. For example, this can connect with this, because this has access to this, right? So you are exposing one system, and using
Yeah.
that system, you are able to actually connect to all other systems, right? You get
Okay.
all this kind of information. So this is what we are trying to do, right? Put a system,
Wow.
put a server within your enterprise, and then allow that server to interface with ServiceNow, and then this will pull out all the information from your within your IT asset, IT enterprise,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now the
Mm-hmm.
server requirement will be, it's a very simple program, so the hardware requirement will be 4 GB of RAM, 2 GHz CPU with a multi-core CPU preferred, 500 MB of disk space, permit server, can ride along with other services, etc. Right? So these are the
Yeah.
system requirements. Now this mid server can be installed on both. It can be installed on a Linux PC. It can be installed on Windows PC as well. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So to
Mm-hmm.
download this program, what you have to do is you have to go into the mid server within the navigation pane, hit on downloads, and you will get options to download it, right? So you will get option to download 32-bit, or you will get option to download 64-bit,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, right now for demo purpose, I have a server which is a Linux server, and that's a 64-bit server. So I'm going to copy this address, and here I already downloaded that package. So if you see on this Linux machine, I went to the temp directory, and here within the temp directory I started wget and pasted pasted the file, the link that I had copied from here, this link,
Mm.
because I want to download that package. So this is the package. It says install.servicenow.com,
Mm-hmm.
and here this is install.servicenow.com. I downloaded this package. When download was completed, I could see there is a package downloaded here which is mid.helsinki.this. This is the package that I was able to download, right? And this is
Mm-hmm.
a zip file. Now I'll be unzipping it, right? So I'll unzip it like this, and then I believe I have to put a name to it. Wait, I need to see the unzip. I always forget this command.
Happens,
Uh,
especially if you don't use it regularly or frequently.
yeah,
It's easy to forget.
all right. So I have to do g and zip, and then I have to do this unknown suffix. Something else. It is saying unknown suffix ignored. unzip. Okay, I think I have unzip here. Yeah, I have unzip, and then I have the file name here, and -d, and destination ServiceNow. Okay. cd mkdir service. So I am creating a directory where I want to unzip it. So unzip is the command. I am
Okay.
using unzip and then the file name -d, and then I am trying to put the folder where I want to unzip it. Oh, it is saying
Okay.
permission denied. So I'll make it sudo access. Here we go. It is now extracting the files there in the folder that I just created. So I am going to go into the folder. So here we go. So I am into the ServiceNow folder that I created, and when I do
Right.
ls, I get this agent folder. I'll go into agent folder. I'll do ls again. I get all these files here, right? So these are the files.
Okay.
These are the files that come as the bundle of mid server program, right? It's a Java program that we have here. Now we have to do some sort of configuration for this Java program, right? And the configuration that is needed is in the config.xml file, right? So I'm going to open this config.xml file here, and I'll see what I can do here for this, right? Now here we go. These are the parameters that we need to edit. For example, I need to pull out the instance name, right? The instance URL, and then I have to go into here and I have to put that instance name here. So this configuration, this parameter that I am trying to put here is the URL. That is important for us to know, because I am letting my program, ServiceNow mid-server program, to know that this is the instance that this program should be referring, right?
Okay.
So we are telling this program that this is the connection, right? You have to do that, right? So
Right.
here we go. We put the URL here. Now before creating that mid server, what I have also done is I have created a user for this mid server. So I'll go into users and see I have created a specific user for the mid server, which is SNC mid server, right?
Okay.
And this is important because if you have the mid server role created, you can provide that user, sorry, mid server user created, you can provide that user the only roles which is required for the mid server, right? So the role that is required for the mid server user is the mid underscore server, right? So
Right.
you will create a user ID with a password, and then you will associate this role, mid underscore server role, to the user. It also takes along with it these other roles that we have here, right? But that comes with mid server. So you have to create a user ID, then you have to supply the mid server role, and then you have to come back. And the next parameter that you have to set is mid.instance.username, right? So you have to set the username which will be required to log in here within your instance, right? So I'm going to put the username as SNC mid server, right? Now
Yeah.
you have to also provide the password here. The password I am going to put in here. I think I remember the password. Yeah, the password is the username itself, so I'm going to put that here. Right? Then the next parameter that we need to put is the name of the mid server. Right? So I'll go ahead and name it something like AWS Linux 64, and then I'll name it as mid underscore server RR, and I'll name it as instance 2. something like this, so that I understand,
Right.
because this name is to be this name will be appearing into the mid server list on my instance here. See,
Mm-hmm.
I'll go to mid servers and I'll hit servers, and this will come here, right? This instance
Okay.
will come here automatically when we start the server. So I have put a name which is slightly different. Right now the one that I have is training instance 2, but now when we are putting it, the one that we have is AWS Linux 64 mid server RR instance 2. All right.
Mm. Yeah.
Now the next parameter that we should look is the thread.max. I am leaving it with default value of 25, which is for allowing how many simultaneous work that you are allowing your mid server to do. So I leave it as
Mm.
25, right? The rest of the parameters you do not have to fill. Bid underscore sys ID value will automatically be populated the moment we start the server, right? Now
Mm.
what we have to do is we have to save this, right? So I am saving this
Mm.
file. So this configuration file has been saved. If I open it again, I'll
Mm.
I'll see those values coming in here. So those values are here. See,
Mm.
right? So
Yep.
we saved it. Now let's go back. I'm doing a ls, and you can see the list of files here. Now this is all needed to configure the mid server, right? Put right configuration in place, put it under right directory, and then you have to start the mid server program, right?
Mm.
So to
Mm.
start it, in the Linux environment, you have a very simple script which is start.sh. So all you need to do is start.sh. So this is how you start a
Mm.
shell script. What is unable to locate any of the following binaries. Agent bin. Let me see. Are we missing something? Wrapper Linux x6 wrapper Linux x86 64. What? Is it having some problem? Stop. Uh-oh. Alright, looks like there is some problem with this package.
Mm.
It says found but not executable.
Okay.
I downloaded it alright, it extracted all well. Let me do one thing. Alright. Okay. Agent. All right. Every personal. All right. There is some configuration that I have to do, and the configuration is the package. The package that we had, I don't know why it has some issue because it says there is no executable that we can run. So do you have a server access, Michael, where you can install and practice this?
Server access to
Any
what?
any server where you Linux or Windows server where you want to configure mid server and see on your own if you are able to do that?
Oh, my machine.
Yeah, machine. Any machine,
That
any machine where you want to
can I
configure.
do that on my laptop?
I think you can do that. Yeah.
Okay. Right now, I'm actually using my work laptop for this training and everything.
Acha. Okay.
Or shall I use my personal laptop for that one?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So I have to let me read on that how to configure and stuff. Yeah, I can try.
Sure. I'll tell you how
Right.
you have to configure this. So this is how you do that. So very simple steps. Right? All you need to have is the correct file, and then when you have that correct file, make sure that you are into you create a directory which is something like ServiceNow, and then within ServiceNow directory you have to put that agent folder here, and within that agent folder all the files should come. Right? See, when I do ls is like dir of Windows command prompt. So you have it
Yeah.
here, right? And now you have to configure the environment into the config.xml file, right? And then put all those values that is required and go out and try to start this sh script command here, the script that you have, and uh-oh, looks like something is wrong on my instance. It says no such file or directory, which is weird because the file is here. Oh, I think I have corrupted the whole setup here. So
Oh, is that?
let me do that. I'll try to reconfigure it and then I'll demonstrate it tomorrow, right?
Oh, okay.
Um, so that's on creation of the mid server, how you can create the mid server, right? The other way around is the other thing that I also wanted to discuss is in the import set, in the data sources, you are to identify your database actually. So I'll take an example. I have a MySQL database on my server, this server here, right? This is a Linux server and I have MySQL instance here. So I'll try to connect it. So I'm doing here, right? So this is how you connect to MySQL instance. You supply the user ID and password, and then you log into the MySQL, and you can do show databases to see what are the databases available here in MySQL instance. Right? We have these databases available in the system. What I have done is I have chosen JDBC, I have chosen MySQL, and I have chosen this WNMod admin database, which is here as the reference database, right? And then I have provided the root credential here and the password here, the IP address, right? And then the tables as well. The table's name is features. So let's see if we have that table here. So if you do use the database, which is WNMob admin, and I can do show tables, and it will show me all the tables, and I have a features table in here, right? So here what I am trying to do is I am creating a data source, and I want to import data source data into the import set table, which is you import features, right? And then the type of the connection that I am building is JDBC, and the format that I have chosen is the MySQL. Database name is this database, which I have to select, right? The port on which the MySQL works is 3306, so I have that port here. For Oracle, it's a different port, right? For MySQL Server, it's a different port. So you should be using appropriate ports for connection. Then the username that I am connecting to is the root user. So root username is provided here, and the password for the root user. And then I have provided the IP address of the server so that I can connect to it, right? The query is the type of query that you want to do on the features table, right? If you do all rows from table, so it will do select star from features. If you do a selected query, a specific SQL query, so you have to write here, select star from features where something equals something, right? So you have to do conditional specific SQL query. You can do that too. You can put that query there, right? Right now I'm selecting all rows from table. That's it. That's it. You have to do only that things, and I can go into you imports table and see if we have some data. If we have some data, I'd like to clear that. Okay, so I have 19 records into this table, right? So I'll go into the tables and columns, or maybe I can clear it from there itself. So I'll select all of them and I'll delete it.
These are the records, right?
Right, these are the records. Why is it not coming? All right, no problem. I can go here, import features. Where is that table? Import sets. Do we have import feature here? Let's see. Oh, the table is not here. All right, no problem. The table is not here, but the table is here. Anyways, what we are going to do is there are 19 records into this table right now. So I am going to test load another 20 records into it, and it will bring out data there, right? So we have all this information, and I can do test load 20 records. When I do it, see what happens. So this table, the features table that I have here, if I do, it will say I have 19 records in here, right? This features table. I did select count star from features and I get 19 records in here, right? And that 19 record has been inserted into the import set table that we have, right? I'm going to refer to the import set table.
Here, Raul, I see process 19 inserted 19.
Right.
So it inserted all of them. There is no header, right?
There is no header because this is a table, right? So
Oh no, yeah, I
this is
got you.
not Excel sheet,
No, it's not. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
I'm going to do to look into that table. We had 19 records already earlier, but now I see that there are 38 records that we have here. So it inserted another 19 records from the table, right? If I do it one more time, it will keep on increasing. It will keep on increasing the number of records into the table, right? Let's do load all records. When I do load all records, since the record number of records in the table is 19 only, so it will just insert 19 records. But if it had more than 19 records, it will insert more than 19 records. Now I see that there are 57 records into this table. You get that?
Yeah, I get
So
that.
this is connection to the database. You are connecting to a MySQL database, right? So wherever you have that database, maybe MySQL, SQL Server, or Oracle, and that database is on a public server because that server has to be publicly accessed in order that your instance can integrate with that database. So if you have access to a public database, so what you can do is you can create this data source, you can connect with that data source, and then you can bring data from that data source within your ServiceNow database. Make
Yeah,
sense?
well, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So that's about loading data from MySQL database. If we talk about Oracle database, that will be primarily the same thing, right? If you go to data source, if you have to create Oracle database, so you will again use JDBC, and then format you will choose Oracle, right? When you choose
Yeah,
Oracle, then you have to provide Oracle system identifier, and the port that Oracle works on is 1521. That is by
21
default, right?
by default. Yeah.
Right. Then you have to provide your database name somewhere. Oh, SID that you provide is the database that will contain the database information. You have to provide the username, password, server name, and then query timeout. You may put something like 30 seconds or something. Connection timeout, you can also put 30 seconds, something like this, right? Then you
Yeah.
create the data source, you test it, you get data from the data source. All right. If it
Right.
is SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server, then you have to provide the instance name, the database name, and the port it works on,
The port. Yeah.
right? Username, password,
Yeah.
server IP address or server name, then the table name, and you can import data from that, right? So
Right. Right.
this is all required to do that. I have the other server that I had. I was trying to connect with my database on this server, but somehow this IP address is not accessible by my instance. See this 5292.11? This is the public IP address of that server. Somehow it is not being accessed by the instance. It keeps on waiting, so I'm not able to do that. Otherwise, what we have is on this server, I have a very good database created, which is employee database. See, this is another server that I have. So I'll do MySQL -u, and I'm logging with root user. I'm providing root user password. Oh, now I am into MySQL environment. I can do show databases. I have these databases here. I am going to use employees, and I am going to do show tables. So here are the tables that I have, right? I can describe the table that I have. For example, I have this employee table that I can use, and see, this is the table structure. You have employee number, birthday, first name, last name, gender, hire date, etc. Right? So if you want to integrate this employee table with your ServiceNow instance, so what I have done is I have chosen MySQL here. I have chosen the employee
Exactly.
database. I have chosen port as 3306. I have chosen the password and root user ID as well. And then I have done query all rows from table, provided query timeout as 30, and then table name as employees, right?
Right, right.
This is all I need to provide, right? Now, if my server is accessible using these IP address or domain name I see it's accessible, but it's not accessible using IP address. I am still trying to do that. See, if I do test load 20 records and there are some errors, so it will show those errors here,
Okay.
right? So it will try for 30 seconds and then it will say that, connection timed out for some reason. And the reason that I have, the reason is to, somehow it is unable to reach the instance, right? So I'll look
Right.
into, but any server, if you want to connect to it, you will have to do the same thing.
Right,
I
right.
just want to show you that error that is appearing for this server. Now on the database side, you have to make sure that the user that you are using is having adequate permission. For example, right now I'm using root user which has the super admin privileges on the database, so I'm able to do anything on that database. But for you, you will have to make sure if you're using a particular user that role, the required roles are provided to that user.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
See
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
it resulted in an error, and it says could not connect to this IP address and this port, this DNS and this port. Right? If you do
Yeah.
view import log, it will show you the step-by-step procedures that was done in the background while it was trying to connect, right? And ultimately
Yeah.
you will find that it was not able to connect on the server, right? The ultimate result or warning that goes is error during load data, right? Skipped application module creation, could not connect to this IP address or domain name, connection timed out. So there is some connection issue with this server right now, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So that's pretty much about import set. We'll try to do one more thing. We'll try to set up that mid server
Mid
here,
server.
right? Once mid
Yeah.
server is set up, we'll then try to use that mid server in order to pull data from the database and store that data into our import set tables,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Okay.
Because
Sure.
once
Definitely.
we have that data into the import set table, we know how to transform the data, right? We know
Right. Right.
the transformation map, the mapping
That's
access,
correct.
etc. So we can map those columns to the target table columns, and our data will be decorated into the table. All right.
All right. That's true. Yeah. I'll try to read and try to understand a